Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Recording artist and songwriter Sir Ivan is today's guest. Sir Ivan will talk about his music career as well as his incredible family history.
Sir Ivan, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. Sir Ivan, there's so much to talk about, so many different things you're involved in, but I need to first ask you about your father and his strong connection to history.
Well, he was an Auschwitz survivor, Holocaust survivor. 59 of my relatives perished during the Holocaust. And he came to America, worked for 2 years with the American counterintelligence, helping track down Nazi war criminals. And then he came to America with $240 in his pocket. Worked in sweatshops, became a traveling salesman, saved up his commissions, invested in the stock market, and wound up doing what no Holocaust survivor ever did, which is to take over a oil and gas production company on the American Stock Exchange, which he brought over to the New York Stock Exchange later, and then used that company to take over a commercial bank in New Jersey, which he grew from 181 million in assets to over 4 billion in assets. And at a time in the 60s when both oil production and commercial banking were restricted industries and there were not any Jews in those businesses. And that's what he happened to take over and become very successful in.
Well, I have to tell you that it almost sounds like a work of fiction. Of course, it's not, and it really happened. So with all that history and all that perseverance, how much of what your father's philosophy was and his action informed your life and your philosophies about life and your work ethic?
Well, everything I've done, I feel I do because I'm the son of an Auschwitz survivor. So it's totally shaped my personality and way of thinking. First of all, I'm a champion for the underdog. I care a lot about human rights and civil rights. I created a music career after I left the bank. I worked for him for 20 years, and then for the last 20 years, I've been in the music business, making electronic dance music. And I chose Imagine, John Lennon's Imagine, to remake that song, a slow, iconic rock ballad, into a high-energy dance record, which no one in history had ever done before. And then it immediately made the top 40 charts. And then I decided to repeat that success by carving a niche for myself, which was to recreate all the anti-war, Vietnam War ballads and Woodstock-era peace songs and turn them into techno records, which now are called house records or electronic dance music records, for a whole new generation to hear and listen to and dance to.
So that's an amazing transition, but I want to fill in some of the gaps. So you were working for your father for 20 years. You didn't just get up one day and say, that's it, it's time for the music business. How did that evolve, and how were you drawn into that when you first went into the music business?
Well, I was always doing it on the side. I was making demos, doing auditions, taking dance lessons, and the like. At the same time, I was working for the bank. I did it on the side. I did it secretly, and until I got my first record contract in 2001.
And so for those viewers who don't know, specifically, what is a dance chart composition compared to other types of music genres?
Well, mainly other forms of music use a preponderance of real instruments and unaffected vocals, whereas electronic dance music uses except for the keyboard, does synthesizers and artificial sounds that are recreated electronically. And they often take the voice, the vocals, and put them through different special effects to make them either sound a little more robotic or a little stronger or a little echoier, and various hold notes longer. They can do certain things to the voice to make for a greater performance in the final product.
Right.
But on several songs, I have incorporated a real guitar lick, or an entire choir singing backup or doing the chorus. So I haven't stuck purely to electronic dance music, but some of my records have been a fusion of real music and electronic dance music.
Right. Well, I have to say, this really resonates with me because I've said on the show before, my grandfather, who I only met twice, wrote in the 50s and 60s for TV, for the Loretta Young show, for One Step Beyond. But now, we sold his catalog about 15 years ago. Now some of his songs are actually on SpongeBob SquarePants. So you mentioned something that I don't want to just gloss over, that you're taking some songs from yesteryear, for lack of a better term, and you're bringing it to today's generation, today's younger people. So what feedback do you get, and what pleasure do you get from seeing people dance and really enjoy the music that you've kind of turned around just to be for them, because they weren't alive when this first came out?
Well, that's correct. They weren't alive when the original songs came out, but they appreciate the lyrics, and they even recognize some of the songs that their parents listened to when they were younger. So they're remakes and remixes.
Mm-hmm.
A remake is just anybody remaking the song in any genre or shape or form that you want. A remix is when you have a DJ come in and take that song and put their own special touch to it, their own signature on it. And in all cases, for all 18 of my singles over the last 20 years, I've had multiple remixes, more than even major labels have for major artists. I felt that the more DJs that did more different variations on each song, the more chances that one would hit or catch on in the nightclubs and the discos. And so I have numerous remixes of my remakes. Plus, I have original songs that I co-wrote or did half a dozen of them also.
Mm.
But the spirit is always of the 60s and from the 60s. Since you asked me what effect my father's life had on me. Well, it created. I perform in capes, in peace capes, and I became Peaceman, singing peace songs. And then I started a charity called the Peaceman Foundation, which helps those with PTSD, those groups most affected by it, and helps look for cures and treatments for it. Since there is none right now, there are treatments, all help in various degrees, but there is no cure. So why PTSD? Because my father, after having gone through the Holocaust, had some classic symptoms of PTSD, even though it didn't keep him from becoming one of the most successful businessmen in American history. Mm-hmm. He would have extreme headaches. He would have nightmares. He would have flashbacks. And I would imagine even from, some mild form of depression once in a while, but nothing. But he overcame it all. Mm-hmm. Overcame it all, and used the tragedy of the Holocaust. It just drove him to become more successful and to want to help people and do good things in life. People who went through that either were one extreme or the other. They either never mentioned the Holocaust or the concentration camps ever again because it was too painful, and they didn't want to relive it or think about it, so they blocked it out of their minds forever. Or they became obsessed with it like my father was and never stopped talking about it, never stopped lecturing on it to individuals, his board of directors, his customers, and in community organizations all over the country. He was such a good speaker on the Holocaust that he was always invited by the governor of New Jersey to during Yom HaShoah, the Day of Memory. Mm-hmm. of remembrance to speak to the politicians there. And he became Elie Wiesel's closest friend and confidant and assistant in putting together the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. The first, when Elie Wiesel was appointed by President Carter to be chairman of the Holocaust Museum and Memorial in Washington, D.C., the first person that Elie Wiesel asked Carter to appoint that he wanted on the commission, the council with him, was my father. And Elie Wiesel had a choice of any businessman in the world. And he chose my father because he knew my heart. He knew where my father's heart was in regards to the Jewish people. He knew where his thinking was concerning the Holocaust and how important education was. And he was impressed as a businessman, like everyone was. How did a man who went through that with nothing more than a grammar school education take over these two public companies, go into oil and banking, make them both super successful? It was unheard of. Most people that were CEOs of these kind of companies either went to Princeton, Yale, or Harvard, and not only had college educations, they had MBAs and special tax degrees on top of that. And he had none of that. It was all self-taught, self-learned, and common sense. He did have a great head for numbers. Obviously, he didn't take algebra and trigonometry and calculus and those type of math. But when it came to simple math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, he could do it in his head and figure out percentages and ratios very quickly. Had a keen sense for numbers in terms of adding basic math skills.
Wow. So as if it's not enough. So you did the banking for 20 years. You're still doing music, but something resonates with me. I was a teacher for 33 years, and I have done many anti-bullying workshops in schools, in camps, even corporations. So this really resonates with me. Can you walk me through your thought process behind Kiss All the Bullies Goodbye?
I was working with a video director who was very talented, and he came up with a scene where I, as Peaceman, had the ability, like a superhero ability, wearing my capes, my peace capes. And we took gay, lesbian, transgender theme, because that community is bullied through the roof and their suicide rate is enormous and terrible. So I focused in the beginning on that, on the LGBT community. And in that video, it shows how the bully would look into the eyes of the person they were torturing or abusing. And then they would see themselves as the one they were bullying. So they were actually bullying themselves. So they felt the pain of the person they were inflicting the pain on. And then Peaceman, with his laser-like powers, took the bully and converted him into seeing the right, seeing how wrong he was, understanding the pain he was inflicting, and decides to become a better person and embraces the person he was moments ago abusing. So it's like goes through a process of change for the good. And that happened in both a gay instance, a lesbian example, and like a transgender example.
Right.
Since so when you say what kind of feedback do I get? When I did Kiss All the Bullies Goodbye and some of the other songs to help that community, I would get responses from young people who'd say, "Yeah, you gave me confidence. You gave me, you got me through the day. You made me feel there's hope." And so I've gotten that kind of response from people all over the world with my anti-bullying records or with my peace records. People are, I'm sort of like the world's mascot for peace. I wear a costume. And I represent no matter where I am. If I'm in Israel, if I'm in Greece, if I'm in Italy, I take my capes with me and bring peace wherever I go. There was a time when I was on every television show in Germany and in France. And when I went to Germany and France, everyone recognized me on the street. Peaceman. They saw Peaceman, the guy they saw on television. Mm-hmm. And so there's a tremendous demand for peace, particularly now when there's so little of it to be found in the world. So I decided from the very beginning that there should be a Peaceman everything, a Peaceman cartoon, a Peaceman action hero doll, a Peaceman comic book. Because why should parents only have the choice of buying their kid a G.I. Joe doll that comes with an M16, a bayonet, and a machine gun and a pistol, when you can buy a Peaceman doll with a cape, peace cape, and teach other forms of achieving peace other than violence and war. There could be an alternative that appeals to both sexes, male and female. Right. Since both men and women desire peace in the world. But like I said, it's the PTSD aspect of giving people peace of mind that the charity's about, and that I could actually do some real help with. Obviously, stopping war there's only so much Peaceman can do when major governments can't come up with a solution for that one. But when it comes to PTSD, the motto for my Peaceman Foundation is peace of mind for all humankind. And that's my goal.
Well, that's a lofty goal, but you really do walk the walk and talk the talk. So first of all, and I've done a lot of this is really leadership. So I've done leadership projects and leadership training in schools. But sadly, and you know this, when you mention that self-esteem is low and suicides are way up, that unfortunately includes many, many high school and even middle school students. So, you really turn a negative into a positive. So, bullying is a negative concept. You kind of flip the switch. So let's hear about, very few people do anti-bullying parties. They do anti-bullying presentations, but you had an incredible release party, I believe, for Kiss All the Bullies Goodbye at your castle in the Hamptons. So what was the genesis for that?
It was to let the world know about the song and its many remixes. I had maybe 10 or different versions of it. If you go anywhere online where you buy digital music, you'll find it. And people are finding it. I have my music is streamed in 100 different countries all over the world. I get a monthly report, so I know exactly how many people in each country listen to one of my particular one of my songs, which is great. From places I wouldn't imagine, from Saudi Arabia, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Bermuda, wherever people could get music on the internet. I'm getting at least a few streams from that country, Vietnam, all over the place. So that's very rewarding. And so I threw this release party at the castle and performed for close to 1,000 guests. And I, to highlight the cause, I put lighting, rainbow lighting across the entire castle. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. The colors of the prism, colors of the rainbow.
Right.
And since the village people represented the variety in life of people who could be gay or straight or whatever, just a cross-section of different careers and professions, I made it a village people theme. And you had to come dressed as one of the village people, anyone you wanted. So what was super cool about it is that, let's say you came as the cowboy in the village people, and you were standing next to the castle talking to somebody, having a glass of champagne. And when the rainbow light crossed the castle, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet this way, and then came back the other way, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet the other way. Right. If you were standing there, you got to see your costume in every one of those colors. So you saw the cowboy outfit in red, you saw it in orange, you saw it in yellow, you saw it in green, indigo and violet. So it was really a tremendous scene, a wild scene. And it did very well.
Well, that's a brilliant idea, and I'm trying to imagine it now in my head because I did see some of the pictures from it. And so you talk about the Peaceman, and you have this wonderful party, but you're always unraveling and evolving. Now we go to the screen. So why did you decide to make the 1-hour documentary, Sir Ivan, I Am a Peaceman?
Well, to be honest with you, that was a fallback. That was Plan B, the documentary. The plan at the time was for me to try and get my own reality show.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had done a lot of filming. The producer, the director followed me around for like a year, getting all kinds of footage. And the reality thing fell through over a contract negotiation that I didn't think was fair, and I walked away. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen. So now we said, okay, if you're not getting the reality show with this network and this producer, with just a little more footage, we've got enough footage now for a documentary. So I said, okay, let's do that. And so we made a documentary. So it's a 1-hour documentary, which really told the world all that I'm doing then and all I'm doing now. The only thing that's different is now I lecture everywhere on the Holocaust and on my father's biography, The Unstoppable. So the book now has become like my main focus now, because that's what I'm being called upon to lecture by different communities and organizations. Right. It's still making music.
Yep.
And still being an anti-bullying advocate. Yeah.
So with all that's going on, it's almost scared to ask this question, because you're like, the shark never stops moving. I think if the shark stops moving, it dies. So what is next for Sir Ivan? Because I know there's something, I know you're going big with the book, but in your mind, what is next? What are you looking for? What are you hoping to achieve, even moving forward?
Yeah. Next and last, no matter how long it takes, is to have the book turned into a movie. Mm-hmm. Because the messages in the book are so important, so inspirational, so hopeful, that they can, just like the book can save lives, the movie would save even more lives, because it would reach a lot more people.
Oh, definitely. And let's put you on the spot. If I made you the casting director, who might play your dad? Who might play you?
I don't know. I've tried to figure that one out for myself. I can't.
Right.
We're both a little almost too eccentric to think about who could play that role. Exactly. I think it'd be Hollywood's biggest challenge, because my father, in addition to being a brilliant businessman, had a sense of humor like Jackie Mason. Huh. Every bit as funny. And he could sing like an opera singer. He had a beautiful voice that would break into song at the craziest times and places and moments. And everybody would look around, what the hell was going on? And he would just be singing. And a great dancer and singer and comedian. And he loved to play practical jokes on people. Mm-hmm. His favorite thing would be pretending he was something that he wasn't, and getting the person to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker, right, and then walk away. I gave you an example. He once went up to a woman in the Catskills, Kutcher's, and he was pretending to be a hairdresser. She saw him brushing his hair. He had a lion's head of hair, like a mane, that the women were crazy about. Even after he got cancer, he didn't lose his hair. He had a big wavy head of hair. So he was brushing it back like always. The woman said something about his hair. He says, well, I'm a famous hairdresser. And he starts fussing with the woman's hair. Let me fix this. Let me fix that. I can take a little bit here, a little bit there. He says, I own a chain of salons, famous salons. He goes, really? And the woman's getting all excited and this and that. He says, I can make you look 10 years younger. She goes, really? He says, yes. And he says, when can I get an appointment? He said, appointment? We're busy for 2 years.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? We got a wait list for 2 years. And he ran away, leaving the woman completely bewildered, not knowing what happened to her. 1 minute, she's talking to the hairdresser. The next minute, he flies off. He flies off the handle, upset that she wanted an appointment. So he would just do crazy things like that. He had a, when customers came into the bank, he would wear a 3-piece pinstripe suit with a vest. And he had a gold pocket watch and a chain. And it had some charms on it. And it would catch people's eyes, and people would go, "What is that? What is that in your vest pocket?" And he goes, "Oh, that's my Phi Beta Kappa key." Phi Beta Kappa. Where did you go to college? He said, "Well, I went to Princeton for 2 years. Then I graduated, transferred to Harvard. I graduated Harvard, and then I went to MIT for graduate school, and then Oxford and Cambridge for another degree." And I said, "Oh, really? You can you get my kid into Harvard?" And she'd say, "Schmuck, I never finished grade school."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm visualizing a lot.
Forget about. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't finish anything. He would pretend if he was with a client, and he'd see it in the businessman's office, a picture of his son on the high school football team that he was proud of. He said, "Oh, your son plays football?" I said, "When I was in college, I was the quarterback of the team, but I couldn't. I had the record for most touchdowns in the season." He said, "But then I hurt my back and I couldn't play anymore." And he would clutch his back like he was still in pain from the football injury.
Right.
And the person said, "Really, you're a football player?" He said, "Schmuck, there were no football teams in Auschwitz."
No, exactly. Well, it's that confidence that probably gave him that sense of humor. I'm visualizing it because I've been to Kutsher's. I've stayed there. I was a youth group director many years ago. And I'm just imagining a woman buying that someone was staying at Kutsher's who was a world famous hairdresser. But it's come full circle because you kind of have a sense of humor. You have the perseverance, unstoppable, quite honestly, from what I'm hearing. Could be the title of a book about an autobiography about you. But in closing, Sir Ivan, I want to thank you so much for being today's guest, sharing your impactful journey with us. I want to say to those watching, I hope Sir Ivan's journey has shown you that following your passion and helping others is essential in life. Remember, you all have the power to make positive change in your own life as well as the lives of others. We love to hear from you, so stay connected with us on social media. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. Don't forget to like us and follow us for the latest episode, updates, and exciting new content. Sir Ivan, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.